Yo, what is poppin', ladies and gents? It's me, Stef, Bryant, back here again with another Unordinary video. This time, bro, it's finally here. I'm going to be finally detailing my thoughts on what I think is going to happen in the second half of season 2 of Unordinary. Bro, honestly speaking, this is like this is like my third time trying to record this intro because, bro, every time I started it, I kept doing that thing with my mouth that I hate, and I'm like, man, I need to invest in a pot filter. And I said pot filter to myself. I'm like, yeah, bro, because I be smoking pot. No, not really, but I meant pop filter. But yeah, because I'm getting tired of having to always, edit in and edit out the freaking sounds I make with my goddamn mouse. My goddamn mouth. Because, bro, like that right there, you're probably not gonna hear it because I'm gonna edit it out. So it'll probably be like, it'll sound really smooth. But besides the point, let's hop right into this video. Now, to start off this video, let's start off with something that's going to be pretty controversial, you know, in somebody's opinion, and especially in my opinion. This might be a very controversial topic, but let's go. So in the second half, I do expect William might die because he gets too deep into Ember and the authorities, or he might end up hiding and working from the background, trying to expose the things going on. I definitely have a feeling that William is going to have a lot of trouble in the second half of season 2. As much as I hate to say this, William may just turn into a pure plot device to not only further the story's plot, but also for John's progression as a character. My reasoning has to do with the story of Unordinary, the book I'm talking about, the book William made, where he states it's dedicated to his son, but in the end of the book, the hero dies. I don't think this is foreshadowing of John's death. I think it's being used as symbolism for changing society with his death, because in the book of Unordinary, William portrays himself as the hero, and if anything, foreshadows his own death and leads to the bigger change. I think this will be a point in the story where John may become vigilante. Next, we're going to be focusing less on the state of the school in terms of the hierarchy and the safe house, but move toward the public eye and the authorities focusing on Headmaster Vaughn and his ideology of letting the students have so much freedom in order to let them decide for themselves the type of society that they want to live in. This has to do with the new events we've been introduced to, and I know will be expanded on in the future. My reasoning for knowing we will start focusing more on Headmaster Vaughn has to do with, throughout the series, we've seen glimpses that the authorities don't like how Vaughn is running the school, and we've also seen Cassandra doesn't like how the school is being run either. I think this is going to lead to the headmaster potentially being targeted by Ember. Next, we're also going to be focusing on Sarah working with her sister as part of their agreement. Sarah has to help Layla with the split in her organization. I do think we are going to have more screen time with William. This is because I feel like he's going to start digging deeper into the organizations of Next Gen, Ember, and the authorities, which is probably going to put a target on his back after digging too deep. I think this is when we're going to see more detailing Ember and their plans for society, as well as the use for the amp drug, along with the temporary ability technology. I think the topic of Seraphina's father being affiliated with Next Gen is also going to be expanded on during the arc of John learning about his mother, or even during William's investigation. This may lead to more conflict with the characters of John and Seraphina after learning the truth. I can't say for sure. Let's say William does find out about Seraphina's father being part of what happened to his wife. I can't say for sure he'd tell John because of what John has already gone through, but at the same time, there is room for John to find out for himself. So pretty much ever since we've been pretty much taken back to New Boston, I've had this thought in the back of my mind that, you know, something is going to eventually happen, and this popped into my head yesterday when I was re-editing this script, and that leads me to think that Claire again is going to make another appearance in the future, and this has to do with her having more visions. Whether those have to do with John, I do think it will happen, and what I do believe is going to happen is she's going to see something that she just can't ignore, and she's either going to have to tell John, or she's going to relay the message to Seraphina to tell John. This vision she can't ignore can have something to do with him being harmed, and I don't have 100% comprehension of how Claire's ability works, but by this I mean I don't know if she has to come into contact with people IRL, or she has to have a vision of them even if she's like just met them online. Same thing with Seraphina. So what I mean by this is I don't know if she can have a vision of Seraphina because she hasn't met her in real life, but you know, they've spoken online like once, and they've spoken on the phone once. So I don't know if this is enough trigger to have a vision affiliated with this person, or she has to like continuously be exposed to them in her life, just like the way that she grew up with John for the most part, going to school with them. So I don't know if she's going to have any visions of Seraphina. So that's really just where I'm going to end this topic, I guess. Next, I also do believe John is finally going to redeem himself in the eyes of Vaughn after coming back from his suspension, and he's going to be able to use his ability, but not like before. Since he is not confident in the fact that he has changed for the better, he's going to start using his ability to help lower tiers and bring more harmony to the school. But I don't think he's going to join the safe house, but this is still up for debate whether or not he can bring himself to forgive the royals. This plot point has a lot to do with Vaughn's ideology and or plan that we've seen him talk about. I think we're going to see Vaughn expanding on his ideology to the school after the students finally understand why this change took place. I had a theory that perhaps Vaughn's main intentions may have been to overthrow the current society's belief in the hierarchy, but I think it's more complicated than that. This could explain why he lets the kids at Wellston have more freedom to choose instead of forcing his thoughts on them, because he somewhat explained himself that he wants the students to choose the type of society that they live in. Since if Vaughn wanted to, he could have forced his ideology into all the students, but this would have sparked the authorities even more because the students would talk about it beyond the school. That's why he put his hopes in the hands of John to change the school. As explained, John is special because he's lived on both sides, but at the same time, we have no real info about Vaughn's background at all. We do know he is powerful, and even though it wasn't explicitly stated, I do believe he is a god tier with his ability more than likely having to do with gravity control or something with pressure. I would like to say he might have his own small organization where he plots against the authorities at Ember from the background, because I do believe when the time comes for the war on Ember, Vaughn may play a crucial role. Next, I do think we are going to get more information on John's mom, obviously. At this point, we know for a fact John's mom is the reason for the AM drugs, since Next Gen is working with Ember. From what we can see, the way it works is they're siphoning something from Jane, whether that be aura or blood, in order to replicate it to use for the AM drugs and use her to create temporary abilities like we've seen with Vulcan using her flame claws. Along with the learning about Jane, I do think this is going to be a 2-for-1 deal. I think we're going to obviously learn more about John's family and the man who was shown in Claire's vision. I think this is also going to lead to learning about the past of John's mom and dad, along with John potentially finding himself a mentor, and I do believe that person is going to be the mystery relative we've seen in Claire's vision. Now, this next topic is something that has been discussed in the Unordinary community for a long time, and that has to do with John is going to become a vigilante, and I think it's going to happen either this season in the second half or in season 3. I'm not 100% sure, although I do think this has been in the works for a very long time and will eventually happen. As for the reasoning, there could be a numerous amount of reasons, for ranging from John finding out about what happened with Ember and his mother, learning about what Seraphina is doing and wanting to help her. He himself might get tired of society and the rules and might take things into his own hands, or like I said before, William might die and he becomes angry at society again and wants answers, so his way of getting that is by going vigilante. I also do want to say, I do think John is eventually going to get suspicious of the work Seraphina is doing, and I think he's going to follow her. And what I believe is going to happen is that he's going to see from a corner that Seraphina is going to interact with the guy we've seen before who can teleport, and he's going to watch as Seraphina is teleported away. Also, before anyone asks the question of John being able to copy teleportation abilities, I'm going to say this. I do think the ability that John has itself, or a manipulation, I'm not talking about John, I'm talking about the ability itself or a manipulation, I think it has the capability to copy any abilities, but the deciding factor is the person who has it. So in this case, John himself, I think it has to do with if he can understand how the ability works. And this is not a new topic. We've been introduced to this before. We know this for a fact already, that John himself, he has to understand how the abilities work before he can copy them. The simpler the ability, the easier he's going to be able to comprehend it. So I just want to put that out there before anybody asks me, do I think he can copy a teleportation ability? Another thing I do think I need to talk about is that John is eventually going to enter another training arc. I thought this was actually going to happen during his suspension, but we actually didn't see anything happen because it had more to do with his mental and his psychological health during that time, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But you know, there was a 3-week time skip or something like that, and we didn't see what happened during that time, so I don't know what he did. I don't know if he was training or what he was doing, but I do need to say this. I do think John is eventually going to want to learn all the new abilities he's seen so far, and he's going to eventually become capable of copying things like Vaughn's ability, time manipulation, teleportation, or any of these complicated abilities. Why do I think so? I think John isn't considered weak by any means, but I think John himself is going to realize soon, if he wants to take down an organization such as Ember, whether or not he becomes a vigilante, he's going to run into antagonists later on. So I think that he's going to decide that he's wasted enough time from playing cripple in the past, and now that he's confident in himself, he's going to resume his training. Now, this is something that's been discussed in the Unordinary community for a long time, and that is if whether or not Turf Wars is going to return. And in my opinion, this can go both ways, so it's a 50-50, and I'll tell tell you why. From my perspective, I think Vaughn obviously understands what's going to start happening soon with the authorities cracking down on Wellston, and for that reason specifically, it's a hit or miss regarding if he chooses to let students participate in turf wars or not. This is because when they participate in turf wars, from what we've seen, they aren't supervised, so this leaves them in a vulnerable position to be attacked, along with the fact that turf wars location is in the desert, so it makes it so anything could happen since they are so far away from the school. At the same time, there is a possibility Vaughn doesn't want Wellston to seem suspicious in turning down challenges from other schools, especially if this information is traveling beyond the school. So it may prompt him to allow for turf wars fights just so he can keep things looking normal. If turf wars do happen to return, I do think there is another 50-50 possibility of whether or not John will participate. Same with Serafina along with Blake. I'm pretty sure Vaughn has no idea about Remy and Eisen being X-Ray and playing Vigilante, so from my perspective, if he was going to send people, he would probably not let those three go, instead send someone like Arlo and 2 or 3 other, maybe Cecile, Holden, and someone else, because they haven't been in the eyes of the authorities before. Again though, this is a 50-50, so he may or may not encourage John, Serafina, and the rest of the Royals to participate. It will depend on the state of how he perceives the authorities and if they are willing to attack his students. Okay, so this next topic, it just got planted into my head after I remembered what happened in episode 234 with Valerie and Cassandra. Before I move on, I do need to say, I do think Remy is going to reintroduce the topic of Valerie to Arlo. Again, it's going to weigh heavier this time though, and the reason for this is that I think Arlo, since he found out that the authorities are working with Ember, there are a few ways that Arlo might find out his aunt is actually Vulcan, aka the person who killed Ray, and I think he's either going to end up having to fight his aunt while she's in disguise, or he might end up connecting the pieces if/when Remy tells the truth about when she was X-Ray and ran into Vulcan. Back to what I have to say, during the dialogue in episode 234, Valerie says she has high hopes for Arlo, and what I suspect from this she means is that she more than likely plans to have Arlo join Ember, if not the authorities. Now, to explain what I do think could happen, I need to say I don't know if Uru plans to do any time skips where the 4th years have graduated Wellston and they are beyond the school. This would play a major role, because if this is the case, I wouldn't be surprised even if Arlo finds out his aunt is Vulcan. I can't say it's out of the question that he'd still join the authorities, and my reasoning goes with this. I think Arlo, he would still join the authorities and he would end up playing a double agent in order to gather information on Ember. Now, this is an over-the-top prediction, and I'm not sure if this would happen in the second half of season 2 or season 3, and I don't even know if it would happen at all, to be honest. But I do need to stress, I've only ever theorized what's possible within the storytelling boundaries. To finish this prediction, to go along with the reasoning, I think in order for this to happen, there would need to be a reason for these guys to gather this crucial information, along with the main cast coming together to form a team of some sorts, and this is when I think we may see a group formed around being vigilantes, and the main purpose is to go against Ember. I personally wouldn't be surprised if Layla and her organization also ended up becoming a part of this vigilante group, but of course it would work from the shadows. I do want to just clarify though, the scenario that I just talked about, it would only be, well, I wouldn't say it would only be possible if, you know, there was a time skip, but there is a portion of that would only be possible if there was a time skip, aka if Arlo was to join the authorities, there would need to be a time skip for that to happen. But the other portion of there being, you know, an organization centered with the main cast of characters where they're going against the Ember, I don't think that requires a time skip, because I think whether or not there is one, aka a time skip, I do think it's going to happen eventually, because from the way we see the story is going, I think those main set of characters is eventually going to have to come together and create a vigilante group or something of the sorts, where they are going to end up targeting Ember because Ember ends up targeting them. So they're going to have to play around, fight from the shadows, take down whatever is sent after them at a certain point in the story. But that's where I just want to end that portion of this topic. So pretty much as I was about to finish editing this video, this idea popped into my head because, you know, it said, yo, Stef, you didn't use up all your brain power, so here you go, Goofy. And here we are. I have to bring up this because I forgot it has to do with 2 special characters that don't get a lot of screen time, but they have been becoming more important, and that is Terrance and Doc. So in the last chapter before John leaves for his suspension, Doc gets a text from Layla. His resume is being reviewed, and we see him in the mid-season finale gone, which means he's now working for Layla. We also know Terrance is also working for Layla because in episode 205, he was instructed to deliver a message to Serafina. On top of the fact, we saw his recruitment documents, which also listed Remy as a yes, Blake as an unsure, and Arlo along with John as a no. This leads me to expect my idea that there is soon going to be an organization of vigilantes going against Next Gen / Ember will come to be, and I think Remy is going to end up recruited along with Blake in the second half. In my opinion, I think soon the document is going to change on John, and the recruitment will change to yes / unsure after seeing how he's changed, but at the same time, he may be viewed as unreliable and bipolar for these sudden changes. I'm honestly unsure about the type of work Doc is is going to be doing after starting to work with Layla, but it will have to do something with being ability related. We just don't have too much info on Spectre as a whole, so I can't say the role he's going to play. Now back to Terrance. After I did some research, I saw the mystery person we've seen a while back who has the same speech bubble color as Terrance in episode 216. I have reason to believe this is a relative of Terrance because in the past we saw that there was someone else who has a similar speech bubble as well as invisibility. My opinion on this person stands that from what I saw, he may be the same person who is the leader in the split in the organization of Spectre, and what I think is he's on the other side while Layla is the leader of her side of the split and Terrance is working with Layla. I'm not sure if this side of the split is working with Ember, but I have reason to believe that they aren't, just because that means Ember would also have their hands on ability disablers, as well as the fact that they're a power-oriented society, so their ideals would clash with Spectre's. Now I am going to be ending this video here. This video is actually going to be pretty long even after I finish editing it. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this because I actually ended up putting a decent amount of time into this. I wouldn't say I put a lot of work into this, but I actually put a lot of brain power. I guess. But hopefully you guys enjoyed. Do not forget to like and subscribe, comment down below. Check out my community tab. That is where I leave all my updates regarding if I am going to be updating videos, and it's just a place where I speak my mind sometimes. I just recently am going to start pinning it in the comment section below, so hopefully you guys just check out that link, and it would also be in the description link. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. Do not forget to like and subscribe, comment down below, all that stuff. Talk to you guys next time. Peace out.